Well, hello, everybody. I want to thank you for tuning in today. My name is David Barrios, and I want to welcome anyone that may be listening here today. Now, what's kind of cool is since last week and the previous weeks, we've been able to not just be live on missionsforhim.org radio, but now we have the capability to go live in a couple other ways. So we're actually live on YouTube right now, and what's the YouTube name?
Mission for Him Radio.
Mission for Him Radio on YouTube. So if you search Mission for Him Radio on YouTube, and Vivacious join, thank you for tuning in. And so I just want to go ahead and continue this series that we've been doing. It started 3 weeks ago. Apologetic series, and we're getting into it now. We're on the road there. What's up, Fishing Man 2345? How's it going? And so we're just going to continue here. So we're actually going to do What is Truth Part 2. That's two as in two, and we're going to continue that. I do want to make a plug for anyone that may be out there. You're going to school. You go to a junior high school or high school. Someone's asking, is this a podcast show? Would that be considered a podcast show?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So if you go to junior high school, tomorrow Wednesday, September the 23rd is what's called See You at the Pole Day. And See You at the Pole Day is a national movement of students who gather together at their flagpole in the beginning of school right around 7 o'clock, and they gather for prayer. So you can get hooked up with the Bible club that's there at your school. Hopefully they have one. If not, you still have the right to get together and get together with teachers and other students and be able to lift up the nation in prayer, your school in prayer, your teachers in prayer, that type of thing. So we're going to go ahead and continue now our What is Truth section on apologetics, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick up from where I left off last time. Thanks for the thumbs up, Fishing Man. Want to pick up where we left off. So there are a couple of other definitions of truth that are out there, and if you remember last week, if you were listening, I had gave what the definition of truth is, and the definition of truth, we called it the correspondence theory, and the correspondence theory of truth is simply this. Truth, the definition of truth is this. Truth is telling it like it is, simply put. So if I told you I have a red car, which I don't. Actually, I'll use the color that I do have. If I told you I had a blue car and my car is parked outside, now you might take my word for it. Preach it. You got a comment, so I thought I'd repeat it. So if I said I have a blue car and my car's parked outside, but you don't see it, you might take my word for it. But if I say, well, come on, let's go outside and I'll show you. And so we go outside, I look, I get the keys, I open up the blue car, you see that it's blue. So I just told you like it is. I told you the truth. And that's the simple definition of what truth is. Truth is telling it like it is. But there are some other definitions of truth out there. Sen Friedman joined. Thank you for joining on Periscope. There are a few other definitions of truth that are out there, and we're going to point out some of those definitions, and we're going to show how they're actually insufficient to explain what truth is, and they're also self-defeating. And so self-defeating means simply this. I mentioned this last week. It's kind of like a boomerang, right? You throw a boomerang, it comes right back to you. And self-defeating simply means that you set out to give a definition or a defense of something that you believe to be as true, but because that definition of truth, the way that you view truth, is not sufficient enough to describe truth, that's always going to come back to you. So it's kind of like when you lie and your mama catches you in a lie, right? You lie, she doesn't know it's a lie quite yet. Yeah, I couldn't either. I could never throw a boomerang. If you throw a lie, you do a lie, and maybe a day later your mom finds out that you lied about something, it comes back to you. And so that's what these other definitions of truth that we're going to go over are kind of like, that boomerang that comes back. It just doesn't, it's not sufficient to describe what truth is. So here's one definition of truth. And this is the funny thing, guys. when I found out there are other definitions of truth, I just thought truth is truth. Truth is just truth. I mean, how can other people have other views of truth? And eventually I found out that, yes, that's true. There are other definitions. So here's one definition of truth. Truth is this. Is truth what works? All right? Is truth what works? So hopefully the comments that I'm getting on Periscope, we'll be able to answer those as we go along through this Bible study. So is truth what works? And a small lie is a lie. It doesn't matter how big or small the lie is. So is truth what works? So people have said this. They have said truth is found in whatever works or whatever brings the best results, right? And so what this confuses what truth does with what truth is. It confuses what truth does with what truth is. So for example, lying may work for us, but it doesn't make the lie true, okay? There's no such thing as a true lie. Now, I know that was a movie, right? You guys remember that movie? I think it was called True Lies. I want to say Arnold Schwarzenegger was in it, but contradiction in the name, right? But lying may work for us, but it doesn't mean that it makes that lie true. It's actually contradictory. It's contradictory. It's opposing, and truth itself cannot contradict, and it cannot oppose itself. So, how many times have we lied in the past to save ourselves from getting into trouble or getting into, any kind of form of discipline or something? I mean, I lied, if I had a count of all the lies I've ever committed, I'd have a lot of paper, right? And so, that's just what it's like, you lie, a small lie, a big lie, a medium lie, it's all a lie. But that definition of truth, is truth what works? That's not a sufficient definition of truth, okay? It's contradictory, it opposes, and truth cannot contradict itself. Now, I see some of these comments coming up on Periscope, and I'm sorry if I don't answer all of them. I'm just looking down at my notes. So here's another definition of truth. Is truth found in good intentions, okay? Is truth found in good intentions? This view says that truth is found in what we intend to say instead of what we actually say. Okay? It says that truth is found in what we intend to say instead of what we actually say. So, for example, I'm just going to get a cup of coffee here. So, for example, if you give me directions, or if I give you directions, and I say, meet me at my house at 5 o'clock. And you say, well, how do I get to your house? What are the directions to your house? And I say, well, the directions to my house, go down the 10 freeway, go east on the 10 freeway. You're going to exit, such and such street, and you're going to make a right on this street. You're going to turn, and you're going to make a right, and you're going to go down, 3 blocks or so, and then you're going to make a left turn on, Stewart Avenue, whatever. So you take those directions, and you go to meet me at my house at 5 o'clock, and you follow those directions that I've given you, and you go off and you exit on that street and you make the right, you go down a few blocks and then you make another left, and you're looking for the address and you don't find it. You're going up and down the street, you don't find it, and then you call me and you say, hey, David, where's your house at? I followed the directions that you gave me. And I'll ask you, okay, well, where did you get off on the freeway? I got off on, Mountain Street. And you say, okay, that's where you should have got off. And did you make a left? And then you say, no, you told me to make a right. And I said, what? Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say make a left. And that's what I mean by is truth found in good intentions. It doesn't matter that you intended to say make a right. But actually truth is found in what you actually say. So I didn't intend to tell you, I meant to tell you make a left, but I, for some reason told you make a right. It still doesn't make that the truth, because I still told you something that's false. And we won't like to hear it this way, but it's still a lie. It still comes out to be a lie. This view of truth, talking about is truth found in good intentions, this view of truth fails for at least 2 reasons, okay? Number 1, it focuses on what we intend to say rather than what we actually say, okay? Focuses on what we intend to say rather than what we actually say. So truth is not found in what we don't say, okay? But truth is found in what we do say. Another reason this view of truth fails is if this view is true, then there could never be a sincere, well-intending person who is ever wrong. So if truth is found in good intentions, then the well-intending atheist, for example, is telling the truth about God's non-existence, right? Or think about maybe Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons. Do their good intentions make their doctrines true, right? What if you, as a student, or in the past as a student, what if you put a wrong answer on a test, but you had the intention of marking the right answer? So you checked A instead of B, but you really meant to check B because B is the right answer, and you knew that was the right answer. But, what if you get the wrong answer, but you had the intention of marking the right answer? Then should the teacher give you full credit for a wrong answer? That's what that view says. That's why it fails, okay? So truth is not found in good intentions. I mean, I've taken tests as a kid, and, I've gotten wrong answers because I just didn't know the answers, but I've gotten wrong answers simply with the example I'm giving you. I've meant to put, the right answer, but I mistakenly put the wrong answer, and it's still considered wrong. So truth is not found in good intentions either. Another definition of truth, the third definition of truth is this. Is truth a matter of perspective? Some people will say that. Is truth a matter of perspective? So the perspective view of truth says that truth is a matter to be decided by the individual. Okay? So in other words, something could be true for you, but not for someone else. So let's say Joe says 2 + 2 = 5. Okay? It doesn't take a lot of brains to realize that that's not right. But let's just say that. Let's say Joe says 2 + 2 = 5. John says 2 + 2 = 4. Okay? Joe says 2 + 2 = 5. John says 2 + 2 = 4. So they begin to argue about it. And they're saying, no, it's 5. No, it's 4. No, it's 5. No, it's 4. And then Joe, the one who says 2 + 2 = 5, Joe says, well, all truth is a matter of someone's perspective. Okay? That's the way I think truth, or that's the way I view truth, or that's the way truth is. It's a matter of my perspective. You might think it's 4, but I view it as being 5, right? Well, there are at least two problems with this. John's statement boomerangs. Remember, there's that word boomerangs again. It comes back to him. John's statement, Joe's statement boomerangs and destroys itself because the statement would then apply equally to the rest of the people on the earth. Okay? Think about it. All we'd have to do is respond by asking Joe this. Is that the truth, or is that only your perspective? Okay? Because remember, Joe is saying all truth is a matter of someone's perspective. And just ask that person, is that the truth, what you're saying? Or is that only your perspective? So if Joe's statement is true, then he defeated his original statement, which Joe says is only his perspective, leaving open the possibility that truth is discovered another way. So to detect error and reasoning using the boomerang principle, okay? So to detect error and reasoning, use the boomerang principle. So for example, here's some examples of what I mean when you're trying to detect error. There's reasoning. We'll call it the boomerang principle. So for example, never say never, right? What did I just do? If I tell you never say never, what am I doing? I just said never. I told you never to say never, but I just said the word never to tell you never to say it. That boomerangs itself. That was actually a name of a movie before, I think. If I say, or if someone says, I can't speak English, right? What's wrong with that statement? I can't speak English. Well, I'm telling you in English that I can't speak English, right? We're looking for things like that when people are saying what they think truth is. So here's another example. Language doesn't have meaning, right? And so if I tell you language doesn't have meaning, or someone tells you language doesn't have meaning, You just understood what that person meant, right? So it does have some meaning. Or how about this? Absolutely no truth exists that apply to everyone. Okay, that's actually a truth statement in itself. So if someone says there is no truth that exists that applies to everyone, okay, and that boomerangs itself because I'm making a truth statement and I'm saying there's no truth that exists that applies to everyone, but I'm making a truth statement that applies to everyone, right? So that's kind of how you can detect error in reasoning using what we call the boomerang principle. Let me go up here. Sorry about that. So here's another reason why that the perspective view of truth has a problem with it. If something is true, it's going to be true for all people at all times and in all places. Okay? If something is true, it's true for all people at all times and in all places. So 2 plus 2 equals 4 for everyone, everywhere. Okay? So if I tell you the truth about something, if I say 2 plus 2 is 4, as our example, it's going to be true for us here. I'm in Southern California right now. It's going to be true for us here. If I travel to the other side of the country, it's going to be true for me there. That truth statement is going to be true there. If I travel around the world and go to the opposite side of the world from where I'm at right now, then my truth statement that I make here is going to be true over there too. Not only that, but my truth statement that I make here is going to be true. It would have been true, 4,000 years ago. My truth statement that I make here is going to be true 1,000 years from now if, of course, Jesus doesn't come back. My truth statement is going to be true, doesn't matter what nationality I am, doesn't matter where I go. Truth is truth. Truth is truth here. Truth is truth 1,000 years from now. Truth is truth on the other side of the world. So that's why that perspective of truth, it's just a matter of someone's perspective. When they say that, that's just the way I feel truth is. That's why it boomerangs itself. That's why it's always going to come back to them. Truth is truth. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what time, what part of the world you're in, or what time it is in the world, wherever you're at. Truth is truth. What about this? What are some barriers to truth? Okay. We're going to go ahead and review. We're going to respond to 4 barriers to truth that challenge our Christian faith. And I mentioned this in our first part on what is truth. But we're going to review. We're going to respond to 4 barriers. Now, here are the 4 barriers that challenge our Christian faith. This is what I meant when I say that in the beginning of my Christian walk, if you were to tell me that there are other views of truth out there, and besides what truth means, I just always thought truth is truth. Well, here are some other views of truth that I wasn't even familiar with until later on in my Christian life. Well, for example, we're going to go over them and we'll talk about them. Number 1, agnosticism. 2, skepticism. 3, relativism. And 4, subjectivism. Those are the 4 barriers to truth that are going to challenge our Christian faith, and people are going to hold to those perspectives, and they're going to, they may not say I hold to agnosticism. Maybe they will, or I hold to subjectivism, or they might say that, but you're going to hear it when it comes out in the way that they talk and in the way that they present their ideas and their worldviews. So, for example, the first barrier, agnosticism. Agnosticism simply just means this, that, their belief is this: nobody can discover truth, okay? Nobody can discover truth. That's what agnosticism says. This claims that truth can't be known, nor can anyone have knowledge of God, okay? The meaning of the word is found simply by looking at the word, okay? So you think about the word agnosticism. You get that letter A that's in the beginning. That letter A in the original, or when you talk about word meanings and all, the letter A means no or not. Okay, the word Gnostic in Greek is gnosis, which means known. Okay, so you have the A, which is no, and you have the Gnostic, and in Greek means known. So the words mean no knowledge or no truth. Okay? That's what agnosticism is. It means no knowledge or no truth. Nobody can discover truth. If truth can't be known, okay, guys, if it was true that truth cannot be known, then how can we know anything about God or the Bible which claim to be truth? In John 17:17, John writes there, or it's written in John 17:17, sanctify or set apart them by the truth. Your word is truth. And those are actually the words of Jesus. So Jesus actually says it himself. Your word is truth. Okay? But if truth can't be known, how would we ever know anything about God? And there are at least 3 flaws or 3 errors with agnosticism. Number 1, it self-destructs. An agnostic fails to see that he does know something about God. And this is what he says he knows about God. He knows that God can't be known, or he knows that he can't know God. Okay? And when an agnostic says, God can't be known, they're claiming that, right? They're claiming that he does know something about God because he knows that he can't know God. If agnosticism were true, an agnostic wouldn't be able to make any statement that contains knowledge about God. I'll say that again. If agnosticism were true, an agnostic wouldn't be able to make any statement that contains knowledge about God. Another error with agnosticism is this. The actual phrase, humans cannot know truth or humans can't know truth, that is a truth statement. Okay? If you can't know truth, then how can you know that agnosticism is true? Okay? They're using truth to say there is no truth. You think about that for a second, right? Someone comes up to you and says, there's no way that we can ever know about God. Okay, I get that. And then he says, well, really, there's no way we can know that truth is real. Well, he's just making a truth statement right there. He's saying that my statement is true, and the statement I just made is that no one can know anything about truth. And that's why that's why agnosticism boomerangs, or it falls short, it's insufficient. Another error with agnosticism is this. By saying you can't know truth about, by saying you can't know about truth or God, you're already expressing an opinion that there is a knowledge about truth and God. Okay? By saying you can't know about truth, or by saying you can't know God, you're already expressing an opinion that there is a knowledge about truth and God. Okay? So people say, well, there is no God. And what's the idea of God in their mind when they're saying there is no God? Okay? They have some sort of opinion, some sort of idea of God. And if God really did not exist, how can they even make that statement? Because they're already making an opinion about who God is or about what God is to them. Okay? A second barrier to the Christian faith is skepticism. Okay? Skepticism simply is this: doubt everything that claims to be true. Okay? Doubt everything that claims to be true. It emphasizes being doubtful or indecisive on any truth claims. And this view is actually threatening to Christianity because Christ calls us to make a decision about him. It's either for him or against him. Okay? And that's why that's why skepticism is dangerous, because it threatens Christianity, because Christ is going to, that's what he does. He calls us to make a decision about him. He says, you're either for me or you're against me. Skepticism will say, hold off on that decision. Skepticism is like that little voice when you're in church and you sense the Holy Spirit convicting you of your sin. And you sense the Holy Spirit is drawing you to him. And you hear that little voice saying, no, just wait. Don't make a decision yet. Doubt it, don't believe it. Just hold off. Wait until, things get better at home or whatever. That's that little voice, that's skepticism, right? Doubt everything that claims to be true. Well, why should we reject skepticism? Here's 3 reasons. Number 1, like agnosticism, skepticism self-destructs. It's impossible to be skeptical about everything. Okay? If you are skeptical about everything, you would have to be skeptical about your own skepticism. So if you say, doubt that, right? If you say, hold off on that decision, skeptics would have to be skeptical about their own skepticism. Try saying that fast, right? That's a tongue twister there. Another reason why we should reject skepticism. Another reason why we should reject skepticism is this: to hold off on making a decision about Jesus is in fact making a decision about Jesus. Remember, Jesus says you're either for me or you're against me. Okay? You're either one or the other. You're in or you're out, sort of thing, right? And so if you're skeptical about making a decision to get right with God, maybe you're in a church service and you heard the pastor preaching and he said, you know what, it's time to give your life and your heart to God right now. I want to, open up an invitation for you to come and get right with God. However the pastor presents that opportunity, whether you decide to get right with God or not because skepticism tells you, or someone told you, don't believe it, hold off, don't make a decision yet, you're actually making a decision, okay, by not making a decision. And so that's why you have to doubt your own skepticism, because you are making a decision when skepticism says, don't make a decision. And so if you say no to God, you're still making a decision. And it doesn't make sense to say I'm a skeptic if you're going to not make a decision, because not making a decision is a decision in itself. And another, the last reason why we should reject skepticism is this: Jesus combated, or he opposed, skepticism himself. After rising from the dead, what did he do? He showed his disciples his pierced hands and feet. He also even ate with them. You guys remember he ate a piece of fish with them. Jesus combated skepticism. People didn't believe that he was who he was. They didn't believe when he rose from the grave that it was him. And he came and he showed himself to be Jesus Christ. And so Jesus himself combated skepticism. And so there's another reason why we should count it as an error also. Some other barriers to truth. We went over those first two. There's a third barrier, and we call it relativism. Okay? Relativism is this: that truth is different for everyone. And we'll hear him say it's relative. Okay? Truth is different for everyone. And what this does is it makes truth a matter of your own perspective. Okay? It makes truth a matter of your own perspective. Truth is what we call absolute. Okay? Absolute truth, meaning that truth applies to every person and every place and at all times. In other words, truth is unchangeable. Okay? The view of relativism denies this fact. Imagine, holding to this view of truth, that truth is a matter of your own perspective. It's just what I feel. I'm making up truth now. Truth is what I feel that it means. Okay? Truth is what you feel that it means. Truth is what I feel that it means. That's what relativism, the view of relativism is, that truth is different for everyone. It's relative. There are at least three kinds of relativism. One, truth is relative to time, right? So what was true in the past, for example, is not true now. Okay, that's one kind of relativism, where truth is relative to time. Right? What was true in the past is not true now. Number two, truth is relative to people. So whatever is true for you is not true for others. And then three, truth depends on location. And this is kind of what I mentioned earlier. What's true in China, for example, is not true in the United States of America. So relativism is the most common barrier to the Christian view of truth. If you believe that truth is absolute, meaning that truth is unchangeable, then you'll be considered, closed-minded. You'll be considered intolerant. You'll be considered narrow. You'll be considered small-minded, right? Because relativism says what's true for you, is true for me. And so, if you believe that there is such a thing as absolute truth, that truth doesn't change, and you're just, you're narrow-minded, okay? Why aren't you open to, to all religions, right? Don't all paths lead to God? Don't all religions teach peace and love and compassion, etc., right? Don't all these. So what's wrong with saying, that this road, to God is not right? Who are you to say that that road to God is not right? I think all roads to God, as long as you're a good person, right, you can get into that religion and you're going to be okay and you're going to be with God one day or whatever they're teaching, right? That's what relativism is. And, over the years, I've actually, you come in, you encounter people like that. You encounter people that have that type of view of what truth is, and they'll say, well, how can you say that Jesus is the only way, right? How can you say that there's only one road to God? How can you say that the only way that your sins can be forgiven is that Jesus Christ forgives your sins? Why can't I go and, do some things and be considered forgiven? Why can't I go do some good works and say that, okay, now I'm wiped clean? Why can't I go help, some old lady cross the street, right? I'm a good person. I'm a good guy. That's how I believe things work. Well, that's what relativism is, and that's why it's the most common barrier to the Christian view of truth. So why should we reject relativism? Well, number one, like all the others, it's self-destructive, right? When someone says that truth is relative, in other words, when someone says that it's just that truth is a matter of their own perspective, he is saying that his statement is true for all people in all times and all places. Okay? But remember, relativism says that truth is a matter of someone's perspective. But when someone says that truth is relative or it's a matter of their own perspective, he is saying that his statement is true for all people in all times and all places, right? So really, it's not a matter of his own perspective when he makes a statement like that. That statement says that it's true for everyone when he's trying to say it's true for himself. So you see how that self-destructs, that just like it doesn't really make sense when you start to consider it. If so, then it's an absolute truth, right? So to claim relativism, a person must use absolute truth. Because if that person is saying truth is a matter of my perspective, then I'm saying that in that statement, I'm saying that it's true for everyone in all times and in all places. Then that just means it's an absolute truth. And so people that claim relativism are actually people that are using absolute truth. And again, guys, I just want to throw this in there before I continue. I know that I'm saying giving a lot of information, using a lot of words. I'm kind of going quick here. Of course, we're on a time frame here. But if you guys if there's anyone that may be listening, if you're listening on the web, if you're listening or watching on YouTube maybe, or if you're watching on Periscope, I do want to remind you that if there's time and time permits at the end of this study, because I'm kind of getting close to the end here, if you want, you can comment on YouTube, and if we get those comments, we can comment back. You can comment on Periscope, and hopefully we can come back. But we also have a phone number, 909-632-4695. You can actually call in to that number, and you can comment at the end of the station. At the end of the show, if we have time, you can comment. You can actually text in questions or comments. But if you want to call in and time permits, you can call in the phone number 909-632-4695. 632-4695. And if we have any callers or any texts or any comments, again, time permitting, we'll be able to respond to those, okay? So that's one reason why we should reject relativism, is that it's self-destructive. Another reason why we should reject relativism is this. There has to be an absolute truth for a truth statement to correspond to in the real world. There has to be an absolute truth for a truth statement to correspond to in the real world. Now remember, I said that the definition of truth is this: telling it like it is. And so there has to be an absolute truth, okay? There has to be an unchanging truth for a truth statement to correspond to in the real world. So if what you're saying is your view of truth and it's not true, then it's not going to correspond to what reality says, okay? It's just not going to work out, okay? And that's why we should reject relativism. The fourth barrier to truth or to the Christian worldview of truth is what we call subjectivism. And subjectivism says this, that truth is what feels right. Okay, that sounds like something comforting, right? Truth is what feels right. This is a belief that feelings, emotions, and intuition, that I have a hunch kind of thing, are keys to discovering what is true. The idea is that truth feels good and error feels bad, right? That's the idea of subjectivism, is that truth feels good and error feels bad. Now, the flaws with subjectivism are this. Feelings are a poor test for what is true because feelings and emotions change, okay? Feelings are a poor test for what is true because feelings and emotions change. Changing feelings can't be used as a basis for unchanging truth. Remember, truth is the same here as it is in the other side of the world. Truth is the same today as it was 4,000 years ago. And again, if we should have another 4,000 years in our future, truth is going to be the same. But you can't base truth on your feelings because feelings change, truth doesn't. If so, then truth can change right along with our feelings, if that was the case. Another flaw with subjectivism is this. What if two people had different feelings about the same statement? Okay? How would we know which feeling is true? And feelings are good, but there are proper and improper ways of using feelings. Okay? It's proper to use feelings while you're expressing or sharing and holding truth, but it's improper to use feelings to prove or to test and support truth. Okay, so another error, that was another error. So, you think about it. If my feelings say, well, this is why I feel it's true because it feels good to me. And you may not feel the same about that statement that I just made. And you may be saying, well, it's true to me because I feel this way about it. And, that's just not how you can test the truth of a truth statement. There are proper and improper ways of using feelings, but the proper way to use your feelings is, when you're holding on to what's true. Okay, you can't use feelings to prove or to test truth. And finally, guys, I'll be done with this statement here. Another flaw with subjectivism is this: thinking about bad news. Bad news can be true. Okay, thinking about what feels good, that has to be true, and what feels bad, well, that's not true. The fact is that bad news can be true. So if only what feels good is true, we would have to reject all news that makes us feel unpleasant. So for example, if you find out that you need a heart transplant and you dismiss this unpleasant information and you say, no, that's a lie, then what are you going to do? You're going to put yourself in jeopardy of dying, right? You're going to say, well, no, that doesn't feel good to me. I don't want to get a heart transplant. That just doesn't feel good. And, you say, no, that's a lie. And what's going to happen is you're going to be in big trouble because you're not allowing the doctors to do what they got to do to you. So in short, feelings can be a result of or a reaction to the truth, but it cannot be a basis of truth, guys. So with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and conclude this section on what is truth. Actually, guys, that's the whole study on what is truth. The next time we pick up, we're going to be able to go ahead and continue into our next study, guys. So I want to thank you guys for listening. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. Again, Mission for Him radio.org. We're live on YouTube. Go on Periscope. We're live on the web, and you can always check social media, know when we're going on, and you can also call or text any questions or comments you have. But I just want to thank everybody for listening, and until next time.